Well, we often hear about how exercise is good for us, but could too much actually be bad for our health?
In this week's edition of Better Health, we're figuring out how much exercise is good and when it becomes unhealthy. It's time for Better Health, and I'm here with health expert Beth Coker with Asante. Thank you for coming in.
Good morning.
And this morning we have Dr. Morrison. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
So today we are talking about extreme exercise in the heart.
And Dr. Morrison, we know that exercise is good for our heart, but some athletes push past that to unhealthy limits. Is there a point where exercise can be harmful to my heart?
You know, Beth and Ellie, it's been studied carefully. There are recommendations for exercise, and then there's a point at which more than what's recommended is actually the sweet spot, what's good for you. And then there's some who take it a little further, and it's been shown that there's increased risk of cardiovascular disease and even death at extreme limits of exercise.
And how do we define that extreme limit?
You know, that's a very tough question. A variety of studies have looked at it and measured it different ways, but I tried to come up with a number. So around 240 to 250 minutes a week of 80% of your max heart rate or greater sustained. That's kind of an extreme amount of exercise. In order to get that, you think, okay, that's an hour, 4 days a week, but you think about warm up and cool down. Now you're spending an hour, 6 or 7 days a week. So that's a limit at which you might get into a range where you would see increased risk of heart disease.
And that intensity level is key of what you mentioned.
Absolutely. Moderate exercise, excellent for you. You live longer because of it. Extreme exercise. Another way to look at it is if you can say that you've done more than 2 marathons, you know, then you're a pretty serious runner, a lot of miles, a lot of hours a week, serious cyclist, swimming, rowing, you know, high level intensity aerobic exercise. That's where you start asking questions.
So are there arrhythmias that can occur then with this extreme sport?
Yeah, there's a common arrhythmia called atrial fibrillation. It increases with age, and it is also of increased incidence in people who exercise to extreme levels. The general incidence in the population might be around 1%, let's say, and your risk is maybe 5 or 10 times greater if you're an extreme athlete over your lifetime.
So is the long-term risk of atrial fibrillation greater than the risk of inactivity?
That's a great question. The message is clearly exercise is good for you. You will live longer by moving, and the more you move, the longer you're going to live.
So the American Heart Association recommends 150 minutes of exercise, moderate to intense, every week. That's what you suggest.
Without question. And if you do, you'll live a long, happy life.
Great. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you
Thanks.
both for being here. We'll be right back.